tell me or us about your journey at Arrowiz Games and Gamma Interactive? Because quickly, do you have to travel to Irvine all the time, like between Shanghai and Irvine?
Oh, I was actually part of the lockdown here in Shanghai.
Mm-hmm.
So it was only until recently when I went to GDC that I got back to the US.
Okay.
I've been stuck here for about 2 years because of COVID, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Although I did go to Germany last year to Cologne for Gamescom.
Oh, Gamescom. Yeah, awesome.
So yeah, yeah.
Nice.
But in terms of like the teams, yes, I still communicate with my team in Irvine. They're all in the U.S. They're all from New York to Arizona to Vegas to, and then my main partner is in Irvine,
Mhm.
California.
Okay.
And then for Arrowiz, it's a lot easier because most of my partners are here, and all of them are here in Shanghai.
Yeah. So, when did you start with both of them? Like, which year?
Yeah, so that was about 7 years ago.
Okay.
So to kind of take it back, there was a gap there from Warner Brothers to where I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, from Warner Brothers, I actually met my now wife.
Okay.
So she was working for a private equity firm, and I remember that time I got a phone call from one of my best friends. He went to Columbia for business school, and he called me. He's like, "Hey, you have to meet this person. He's a Columbia also student, MBA, and she was a partner of my wife." So I met with them, and I prepared this long analysis about movie business because they were doing private equity and more in the entertainment side of things,
Mm-hmm.
cross borders between China and also U.S. Um, and we talked about business for 5 minutes, and then it was all about personal stuff.
Okay.
So, anyways, um, I was there. I met with her. I later joined her in her firm at North Media Capital. There's a lot of acquisitions. We also brought some movies from Thailand and India to mainland China over here.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a growing business. And then the gap there was I found out my father passed away.
Oh.
And when my father passed away, and like you mentioned, Marcella, you go through ups and downs in life. You have to bear through challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a super challenging time for me.
Of course.
And I went back to Irvine, and I thought to myself, okay, what am I going to do next? Right. So I couldn't focus on private equity because it's a very demanding task, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went to consulting for a bit, and but at the same time, I'm like, should I go back to entertainment or should I just do consulting? Consulting was, it pays for the food and it's a steady income.
Yeah.
It's still good money. um, and that's pretty much when I founded Gamma Interactive with my partner now, Dave Katz.
Okay.
So Dave actually, he had a prior exit back in 2014 in the hardware components industry. And we started with mobile,
Mm-hmm.
and mobile wasn't it was a very challenging task to do
Yeah.
mobile games. It's you have to spend money not just in development but user acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent like tens of thousands of dollars just building our product, and then okay, we need to market it. We did very well actually in Southeast Asia. We funneled that money back,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time it wasn't enough, right? The competition in mobile is very
Oh,
stiff.
it's huge. Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very UA and live is cost a lot.
Yep.
So around that time, we were like, okay, what should we do now? Um, we actually started doing some work for hire, some for on actually some websites, mobile. We did something for school in the VR metaverse landscape. We did one for a Web3 website, so that one we actually done.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ventured into VR. VR actually found us. We feel like VR is a space where there's less competition, and we feel like that's kind of the entry point for a lot of developers,
Yeah.
especially now. Back in 2017, 2016, I think you mentioned, when you're opening that you didn't like the experience because it gives you headaches.
Yeah.
It's very bulky,
I
right?
know
Like
this. Yeah.
so a lot of people hated VR,
Yeah.
but now with the devices becoming more lightweight, the frame rate is where it should be with lidar, and the camera and the sensors are much better.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in a good spot. Of course, we want to take it further, but
Yeah, obviously, but
that's
that's something that comes, by doing things, making it.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it also involves the content, like making the right content for the world to see. I think that's comes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So that was Gamma. Arrowiz I met through my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so Horace Shang and the CEO and Justice Liu, they work for CCP Games. They work on EVE Online. I don't know if our viewers know about EVE Online, but it's probably the third, most profitable uh, MMO in the
Yeah,
world,
definitely
globally.
heard of it, and I think I maybe even played it because I was a very big RPG fan overall. So, yeah.
Right, right. So my partner Horace, he grew the team from 1 to 160. He was pretty much the GM for the China side of things. Which was very impressive. He left CCP Games. He went to Take Two. He answered to the GM in Singapore, and then he's like, okay, forget it. After like 1 year spending there, he pretty much ventured and started Arrowiz Games.
Okay.
So I later joined him, and I'm pretty much like the business development, more like the overseas partner, because I do a lot of the global side. So
Yeah.
anything from Asia or outside of China, Japan. Um, we have partners in Japan. We have
Mm-hmm.
partners in Europe and North America. I pretty much handle.
So you're like super busy with juggling it all.
It juggling a lot,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's fun.
Yeah.
I think I think also that's pretty much the challenge I set forth for myself, because at Marvel we were closing a lot of good deals, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we were handling these massive budgets, $150 million budget, $120 million budgets. Avengers back then it was like 250 million.
Crazy.
It was insane,
Yeah.
right? And that's not including just the development, not even the marketing side of
Yeah.
things. And I'm like, okay, if I could do it for big companies, why cannot I do it for myself?
True.
So when I did venture out, um, fortunately, I kind of found the right way to pitch. Working on a smaller team versus like you have a much bigger team and like help.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be very on the run. It's very grimy, but it's fun
Yeah.
because you get to like set your own standards. So through that, proud to say that like with Arrowiz, we are venture back. We're also invested by Tencent.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, on the Gamma side, we're going through our latest round right now, actually, but we didn't have to raise any capital before. It was all through work for hire,
Yeah.
and a first party also came in to support our latest product.
Okay. Well, better. I mean, otherwise it's really hard because first you have to get the whole capital together and then get things started.
That's the challenge, right?
Mm.
Like the money. If you have a vision or a product, like how do you put that out to market?
Oh yeah.
And
Like that's
and
that's the problem always. Like I sometimes have these ideas and I'm like, yeah, that's great, but I don't have the money to even start it. Like it's so hard because most of the people, there are so many people with great ideas, but they can't do it. Like they can't really get things going because getting that money, that is a hard one.
yeah, actually, Marcella, it's funny you mentioned this. I'm actually putting a Udemy course soon. It's probably going to be probably in later in the year or maybe early next year.
Mm-hmm.
We're putting kind of like step by step guide how to build like a GDD, how to build your pitch deck with game pillars,
Mm-hmm.
how to talk to publishers, how to kind of gate your funding,
Yeah.
because there's multiple resources out there, and there's a certain way to kind of pitch to each one,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like right now, we're knocking into like Web3 and potential partners,
Yeah.
and there's a certain way to kind of talk to them, right? It's something I'm still trying to get used to.
Mm-hmm.
So, but with publishers, with VCs, I've been accustomed to it. I could knock down the pitch in like 1 minute, 5 minutes, what have you. But there's a certain way, right?
Yeah.
And how do you build a data room? How do you build a data room with your financials, looking into comparables? How do you even know how much money to ask?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of questions that like need to be solved. And to your point, Marcella, if you have any ideas, it's also challenging when you're on your own with those ideas.
Yeah.
You know, it's I find it much easier because I'm more on the business side of things.
Mm-hmm.
If I have someone that's very technical oriented right next to me. So
Yeah.
in my two ventures, there's always one person who has like either a CS background or engineering background
Mm-hmm.
because they could tell me, oh, this is feasible or this is not feasible.
Yeah.